News Weekly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 119 of year 3. This is the last official weekly podcast that we are doing of 2021. Next week's episode is going to be our annual top 10 Batman comics of the year. So you can expect that next week. Clay doesn't. This might not be on Clay's list, but just for an example, something we're going to review today may or may not be on my top 10 list. So you might want to just have that in mind for next week's episode. But we have a lot to talk about today, specifically about the Batman, because there's a lot.
A lot.
A lot came out for the Batman, and I've been hinting at this for the last few weeks because it seems like we're getting a lot about this movie, and it's making me less and less excited about it. I don't know how you feel about all this news that's been coming out. Like, obviously, I'm pretty sure when I watch this movie, I'm gonna be like, oh my god, it was the greatest movie of all time. But as we're creeping to it, and it should have been out like a year ago, like, I'm just like, there's too much coming out about this movie.
Yeah, I had a question asked of me when I was on another podcast, and it was just in general, like, oh, are scoopers going too far? And
oh yes, I do think so.
And are we putting it out there like out of proportion? Yes and yes. Because for one, scoopers, like, it's one thing if like an official trade, like we'll talk about it later on in this podcast, but Empire Magazine put out like a whole article. They had like special covers and everything else. Like that is something that is like published, and it's like, oh, we were planning to do this anyway. And then there's the whole thing with scoopers that are like, oh, this is gonna happen, and oh, this is gonna happen. Oh, by the way, I've heard that this character is only in the movie for this amount of time, and it's just like, you are already going in with 98% of the movie.
Yeah,
watching it is the other 3%, or the other, what did I say, 95%. So the extra 5%, is just watching the movie to see if everything's right.
Yeah. I'm curious about people that love spoilers. Like, those are people that hate surprises, right? They just have to hate surprises, like, with a passion. Because or they're like extreme control freaks. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Because I don't see how you would love to know everything about a movie before you go into it.
See, there's, like, for me, I'm not going to say here because it hasn't even been an official 2 weeks yet, but there was leaked images of Spider-Man No Way Home, and literally I opened Twitter and it was the very first thing I saw. Like, there wasn't any like, oh, I need to scroll because I think this is going to be a spoiler. It was like, boom. I was like, okay, I have now seen this spoiler, and now I'm just going to keep it to myself because I'm not going to be an asshole. But like, that doesn't open the floodgate to like, oh, let's see what else I can find about this movie,
For sure. Yeah. I don't understand it, man. There's a lot of people, and I've said this a million times, and I say it every time I do my live stream, because there's always one person that asks about Gotham, just every time. And I'm okay with it because that's the channel I stream on was the channel that I did Gotham stuff on, and I expect them to come back. Most of them are very respectful, and they're like, hey, I'm liking your new stuff too. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. And I know until I become more popular, have a new audience, that I'm going to get Gotham questions for the rest of my life. So it's just going to happen. But like, I see it every time that the reason why I stopped doing reviews is because I hated just spoiling everything for myself.
Yeah.
Like, I knew everything that was going to happen on Gotham 3 weeks in advance.
Yeah, we were talking about this very limitedly last night on your stream.
Yeah.
And it is something that we as podcasters, we who want to entertain a certain audience, like, hey, what are we going to talk about? Oh, well, we have to talk about this because there's only limited information about it until the next week or whatever. So like, with those things like Gotham, for me reviewing other shows, I don't see how you could avoid it though. That's the problem also.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's take The Flash, like, oh yeah, this episode was really, really good. I wonder what happens in the next episode. And then like the trades and everything else starts to like, oh, so-and-so is returning for this. And you're like, cool. But like, you can't just say that. You have to explore a little bit more. You're like, oh, My audience is going to want more from this.
Mhm.
Let me speculate and let me search, let me research, let's look at other stuff. And you just start to go down this freaking this river of information for this
Yeah.
show or whatever. And it does bog you down a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm expecting all of this now.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how we have expectations for, Dark Knight of Steel now, and we came up with the best story ever, and if it's not gonna
Tie-ins and
happen,
everything else.
yeah, it's not gonna happen, and we're gonna be disappointed because we were like, we wrote something better. And that's going to be pretty unfortunate. And I think that's what it goes with the shows. If you do all these reviews, and I agree, like I've been through the grind, and you've done different podcasts and stuff too, so you're constantly just seeing information of like, oh yeah, I can give my thoughts on this.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the reason why I hated reviews more than maybe some of my competition that is still going today is I know I want to be a writer someday, so I was just out here giving better stories than what I was, in my opinion, I'll say that. I was giving out better stories than the shows were putting out there. And I was like, they could be doing so much more. And they're just making it way harder for themselves and just getting like really ridiculous and doing like horrible ideas. And so maybe just the writer in me started hating that kind of stuff. But maybe people that don't have that writing bug in them or don't want to be writers are totally okay with just spitting out shit and trying to be like, oh, this could happen, that could happen. But I'm over here like, if I'm not getting good shit after a while, I don't want to watch something. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I can only waste so much time on something. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I just didn't. I just can't do that kind of stuff anymore. But some people eat it up. I'm not gonna lie, and some people might hate me for this. I would not be opposed to big companies going after scoopers, to be honest. Like,
I would totally be down for that also. And don't get me wrong, like I feel like that is a very fine line of like
yeah.
what you would be able to do because then everybody would be like, "What the fuck, man? It wasn't even that serious." Like,
Hmm.
what is a big scoop versus a small scoop, and what's a
Yeah.
spoiler versus a non-spoiler? It
Yeah.
could be very blurred, that line.
Yeah, I think there is a very fine line of it, and I think people would complain. I mean, because there's a lot of gray areas and things, you know what I mean? But I feel like with the internet, it's just kind of part of the territory now because it feels like you could no longer do like IRL movie scenes because they're gonna get photographed by anybody and everyone. You know what I mean? So that's gonna get spoilers.
Yeah,
So you would have to really do everything in house, which that kind of after a while looks kind of fake. So I do love the actual scenes in a real city, things that I know exist and all that kind of stuff, which is why I'm excited about the Batman because we're finally getting a different looking type of Gotham. And I'm
yeah.
like, oh, that looks pretty cool. So yeah, you take the good with the bad, but I do think a lot of these YouTube channels and like other places have gotten out of hand. And it's also because a lot of them are doing it just for the clicks, and it's a lot of misinformation too, which I don't like. But I guess that's part of the fucking internet, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Personally, I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on all these places, so it doesn't really bother me anymore. And I don't really care for a lot of the shows anymore. So like Clay will go watch all this stuff, and I'm like, so did this happen? Did this happen? I heard this happen. What's the cool part? Like, I don't give a shit about a lot of the Marvel spoilers. I just looked up what happened at the end of Hawkeye, and I was just like, cool. You know? And so like I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
But like the Batman, if somebody's all like, "Oh yeah, they actually did fuck on the Batmobile," I'm gonna be like, "Oh, why'd you tell me? I wanted to see that." Like, come on, like just stuff like that. I mean, the Batman I would care for, but there's not really a lot. When people spoil shit on animes, that's when I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Why'd
Oh
you tell me
yeah.
that?" You know what I mean? So that's the only thing I really kind of care about at the moment. But either way, Empire, which is what kind of got us on this, dropped a whole bunch of photos for the Batman. What did you think of some of these photos? Did you see all of them?
I don't know if I remember seeing all of them.
So they're like
Um,
portraits. So some of them are portraits. It's like they remind me of
oh yes,
the
yes, yes. I
prom
did see these.
photos,
Yeah.
whatever. So, thoughts on the Riddler?
I mean, this has always been a different Riddler than we've
Yeah.
experienced in almost every single medium
Hmm.
that he has appeared in. I'm waiting to see how much he's really in the film
Yeah.
because that it is I think he is in the beginning of the film. I think of course he's in the end, but I do think that like they capture like this is just me guessing because of Paul Dano as a actor and everything.
Yeah.
Like I do think that he is very limited and he is kind of like just a voice in the background, you know?
Okay.
Like
So,
something that
like,
Batman is kind of pondering on throughout the film
yeah.
because I do think the majority of this what this is the Riddler seeking out to like take out the corruption in Gotham City.
Yeah. Oh, so do you think the Riddler is gonna be like the moral voice, or like what do they call it? The moral compass? Like he's a bad guy, but he's doing it for good reasons.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that. I don't know how I feel about that.
I
I mean,
I
I feel like
think
we get
that's
that a lot nowadays.
we do. We do get that a lot. But I do think this is the way they're going to do it. This is
Mhm.
the way they're going to explain that like oh, the Waynes were corrupt the entire time. Like we're going to get
Mhm.
all of that story. That's what I feel.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, man, I'm already not a big fan of the Waynes being
And
corrupt,
because of the way he is pictured, his
Yeah.
mask and everything, not showing Paul Dano's face, I think it's because he's not like he is a big ominous like figure in the movie,
Yeah.
but I don't think he plays a big part in the movie as far as like, hey, I'm an actor, here I am, I'm going to be all over this thing. I don't
You
think
don't
he's
think
like
we're
that.
gonna have like an Oscar worthy scene with him?
No.
Is Yeah.
I think he's captured. I think he has multiple scenes in like interrogation
Yeah.
and then like the big part of like the ending scene.
Yeah. You know what really needs to stop happening in Batman movies? Interrogation scenes in an interrogation room. That really needs to stop.
I think so.
Because
If
he in the comics, he rarely interrogates anybody at the police station.
that
He's
is
like
true.
beating the shit out of them on rooftops or whatever and intimidating them in the streets.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
But I just realized this. I mean, The Dark Knight kind of put a
Oh yeah.
staple on that
Yeah.
scene.
Everybody wants that,
But then
you know?
after that, you got the animated series of Under the Red Hood,
Mhm.
and you got Joker in an interrogation scene there. Then you move forward. There's been multiple animated stuff and in comics where he is
Yeah.
in an interrogation room.
Yeah.
Like, and there's this is all under the topic of the Batman. I believe it was one. I can't remember exactly who it was. I think it was the cinematographer, maybe that
I
made the
don't know.
comment. They made a comment of like, "Oh yeah, we're actually trying to beat Nolan's trilogy,"
Ugh.
and
Don't
I'm
do that.
like, well, I'm glad you're not looking to be worse than the Nolan
Yeah.
trilogy, but like, why attempt to be like, oh, or why even vocalize it? You know,
Yeah.
that's
That's
one
a
thing.
stupid
Like,
thing to say.
you can yourself like, hey, I have a goal to
Mhm.
do this,
Yeah.
cool, but to put it out there to a journalist, to a reporter, to whatever, and be like, oh, we're gonna beat Christopher Nolan's trilogy
Yeah.
of Batman movies.
Yeah, it's like putting a fucking the Great Wall of China in your way when you're just trying to cross the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? Because the moment you say something like that, people expect it at that point. That's like
Hmm.
saying, like, oh, if you were an NBA player and you're like, I'm going to be better than Michael Jordan. If you don't get 7 rings, you fucking failed. So, like, LeBron James is not better than Michael Jordan. When
Yeah.
anybody says he's not, like any football player right now, you have to be better than Tom Brady if you're going to be the greatest. You know what I mean? Because he has
Yeah.
seven fucking rings. So it's just like, why would you put that on your shoulders? That's like me going into DC and being like, I'm gonna write something more iconic than Frank Miller's The Dark Knight. Like, why would you put that on you? Even if people would agree, like, even if you do write something that people think is better, you're not going to get that, like, groundbreaking change for the character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand it. So, yeah, that is stupid because you want to know the only way they can beat the Nolan trilogy? one of their actors has to die. Who's gonna die?
Fuck.
Because like, let's be real. Let's be real.
Oh
Fucking
shit.
Heath Ledger doesn't win that Oscar if he doesn't die. I'm sorry. He doesn't. I don't think he does. Because I think that was just the perfect storm of shit to happen, that he did an amazing performance for the Joker and then he passed away unfortunately, and people were like, they really took it serious because there was a narrative going around for a while that the role was so taxing it took a toll on him, which wasn't
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And I think it was just this whole drama going around him that it made people go watch the movie because it was his actual full length last movie. And everybody was like, wow, he's actually a fantastic fucking actor. But I don't think the Oscars take him seriously if he doesn't pass away. It might sound fucked up to say, but I think it's true.
I mean, I'm trying to think, what was his competition
I mean,
that year?
it when you think of something like Batman going up against just any kind of Oscar movie, it's always something super
that
artsy, something
that is
super
true. That
crazy,
is true. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, he was only in the supporting actor role. It wasn't main lead.
Correct. Yeah.
So, because Joaquin Phoenix won for main actor, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like lead
Yeah.
actor. And Heath Ledger broke down the doors for everybody to be taken serious in these superhero movies. So he
Yeah.
did that, but I don't think that I genuinely think his death helped his Oscar stock. Because the Oscars kind of like they like to honor, they like to do all this kind of stuff. Oscar bait is 100% a thing. You know what I mean? So I genuinely think that helped him because you got to remember a lot of those people in that vote for the Oscars work with actors. They're in the industry. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
probably worked with Heath Ledger and they were like, this would be a great way to honor him. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So,
so his competition
mhm.
was Josh Brolin in Milk,
Never saw it.
Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder,
Oh, that would have been a good one though. Oh shit.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, who passed away
Yeah.
uh, long after,
Yeah.
was in Doubt, which
I
I
never saw
heard
that.
very good things about that. And
He's a
then
great actor though.
yeah, and then the next one was Michael Shannon in Revolutionary Road.
Well, I heard a
Um,
lot about Revolutionary Road
that
too.
was the Leo DiCaprio movie. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, dude, what's his face in
putting
Doubt is pretty good though.
putting him against Philip Seymour
See,
Hoffman,
yeah.
like I think that may have
Yeah.
beat him if
Because
he
I think
if
he won an Oscar before he died, right? Pretty
Philip
sure he
Seymour
won an
Hoffman.
Oscar. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
was it
He's
for like it wasn't Capaldi. It was like some murderer trial kind of movie that like actually got played by two different actors in like a short span of time. I don't know if he won it for that, but I know he played some kind of like murderer lawyer or murderer writer kind of guy. I forgot what the movie was called. Pretty sure he got nominated for that.
he has gotten an Academy Award for Best Actor.
For what?
Let's see. I know
Oh,
we're
I thought it
going
would have
on
been
like a
listed there.
weird transit,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, hey,
we'll look at it.
We
Yeah,
opened
yeah.
the floodgates. Yeah. But yeah, as you look that up, I'm gonna go on to the next thing because so yeah, the Empire magazine had a bunch of photos and stuff like that. Looked pretty interesting. They didn't really reveal a lot. It was just like a lot of nice like behind the scenes kind of shots, which it looks great. I mean, I think nobody's arguing that the Batman looks great. But going on to the next thing is Robert Pattinson has said that he has plans for the character beyond the Batman. And yeah, essentially saying that him and Matt Reeves have been kind of, I guess, thinking about the character, how he's going to progress over the trilogy. And I asked this to Clay, or I told this to Clay more like, I was like, I don't think Robert Pattinson goes past 3 movies.
Yeah, I don't think he does either. I know that we have had several different conversations about, okay, does he get thrust into the DCEU after Flashpoint? Is he going to be a team player? Is he just going to be, this overall just black label Batman? What's going on?
Yeah.
And the more and more I look at this film, And let's face it, I think Matt Reeves is honestly trying to build an art house Gotham.
Mhm.
I think he only stays for the 3 movies. I don't think
Yeah.
he makes another trilogy, and I don't think he goes towards the DCEU.
Yeah, that's why I think they need to cast another Batman now to put him in there, but I mean, we're gonna talk about a different situation here in a little bit. Um, I I just thought of this right now since we were talking about the Joker though. I don't think this next Joker is gonna be a Joker that people like rave about. I don't know why. I don't know anything about that actor, but I just feel like you're not gonna top Ledger or you're not gonna top Phoenix. That Phoenix. You can make an argument about Phoenix. I genuinely think you can make an argument about him surpassing Heath Ledger, but
Mhm.
there's no way we're gonna get 3 actors in a row. Like, no,
No,
this next person to surpass Phoenix, no way.
so this other person, I always forget his freaking name.
Hmm.
He was
SARS is it
in
Sarsgaard? Sarsgars?
no. He was in Eternals.
Hmm.
His name is, I got it right here, maybe.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I just don't think we get.
Barry Keoghan.
Oh, okay.
He played in Eternals.
Hmm.
What they teased in the trailer versus what we got in the movie of Eternals, I
Yeah.
feel like kind of like was not what I was expecting. I
Hmm.
really liked what I saw in the trailers because I got like, oh, villain vibes.
Yeah.
Wasn't the case in the movie. I think he has a shot at being a good Joker,
Hmm.
but I don't see anything more than like good. I don't see him
Yeah.
being great or phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
he really has to sell me.
Yeah. This I mean, people are gonna tease it until the dawn of until this actor actually dies. But I would have loved to seen William Defoe.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I think he would fucking kill it. Because here's the thing: he's been in a movie with Robert Pattinson before. So,
Oh
like,
yeah, Lighthouse.
can you imagine if they both came back together? Like, that would be kind of cool. Because who says that the Joker needs to be around the same age as Batman? You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna do this type of shit, like, what if he was just always a crazy dude and then he sees the Batman and finally, it's like, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna leave my
Yeah.
mark. You know what I mean? Because yeah, I mean, I don't. Who gives a shit at this point? Because now, if you're going to continue the Joaquin Phoenix story, unfortunately, with Joker 2, he's like 20 years older than Batman.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, I think as long as you capture the essence of the character, the age and the race doesn't fucking matter, right? So,
Yeah. True.
um, so yeah, I don't have a feeling. I have a feeling there's no way we're gonna knock out 3, and it's unfortunate that Leto I think he got the short end of the stick getting paired with David Ayer and going through this crazy Joker shit. Cause I think Leto is a phenomenal fucking actor. I mean, he's won Oscars too.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think he ever got a fair shot at the Joker, to be honest. And I doubt he's going to at this point
No,
either.
I don't think he will either. I honestly think that because of the Sony Marvel deal and
Hmm.
what seems to possibly be going on there, I think
Yeah.
he'll just be like, "Oh, I'll stick with Sony." You know?
Yeah, but I also heard that like Margot Robbie didn't want to work with him again. I don't know if that's true or not. Cause she did say like favorable things about him. She was like, we did a lot of scenes and blah 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 blah. But I heard I don't know if it was on TikTok and you can't take that with any grain of like it's a grain of salt there. But apparently Margot Robbie has like people she doesn't want to work with again. And like Leto was one of them, I think.
Huh.
So I don't know
Interesting.
how real that
Now,
is or
like,
not.
I'll be honest, like, you send me like a fucking dead rat and
Hmm.
like go in the links of what he did to like joke around and shit. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's jokes, but like then there's a line. You don't cross
Yeah,
the
for
fucking
sure.
line. And if I find a fucking dead rat, like that's my
Yeah.
line.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't want any of that shit around me. I don't care how good of an actor you are, you know what I mean? Like there's method and then there's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, the Joker's not real. So like, you don't have to go crazy method with that. So yeah, that's it. But we're not even done with the freaking Batman news cuz there's so much crap for it. So on top of that, we had I didn't have the synopsis pulled up. Do you have the synopsis pulled up for
So the
there's a
synopsis here
there's
says
an extra
this.
lengthy synopsis
It
now.
says
This is
extra lengthy, but like it looks like the same amount of paragraph. But here it
yeah,
is. It says here that 2 years of stalking the streets as Batman, striking fear into the hearts of criminals, has led Bruce Wayne deep into the shadows of Gotham City, with only a few trusted allies, Alfred, James Gordon, and amongst the city's corrupt network of officials and high profile figures, the lone vigilante has established himself as the sole embodiment of vengeance among his fellow citizens. When a killer target Gotham's elites, when a killer target, what the hell?
targets Gotham's
Yeah,
elites.
when a killer targets Gotham's elites with a series of sadistic imaginations, a trial of cryptic clues sends the world's greatest detective uh, on an investigation into the underworld, where he encounters such characters as Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman, Oswald Cobblepot, aka Penguin, and Carmine Falcone, and Edward Nashton,
I
aka the
hate that
Riddler.
name. Why are they calling him Nashton? Like, why do you need to be different? I don't understand it. It better be
I
some type of riddle or something in the
I
movie.
think Nashton is a really, really deep pool because I think Nashton was in the comics at one point.
Hmm.
Uh, as the evidence begins to lead closer to home, and the scale uh, of the
Perpetrator.
perpetrator's plans becomes clear, Batman must forge new relationships, unmask the culprit, and bring justice to the abuse of power and corruption that has long plagued Gotham City. But did you read that? It says begins to lead closer to home.
Yeah.
His parents are
Yeah.
corrupt. Like,
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't want to deal with that. Also I don't like the trail of cryptic clues sends the world's greatest detective on an investigation into the underworld. This is 2 years in. How do we know he's the greatest detective? You know what I mean?
I think that's more so for the reader. Like,
Yeah.
Batman is the greatest detective, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it is what it is. Nothing new there. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of tired of the synopsis already. Or I'm tired of the all this shit. I just want the fucking movie.
yeah.
Like, you know,
4
at
more
this
months,
point.
man. 4 more months.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be here soon enough. But I mean, but by the time we get there, we're gonna go through another global pandemic where Texas is gonna lose all power.
Fuck.
Probably gonna have another series of panic attacks or something, and then it's gonna come about. And it'll probably be in a situation where theaters are like, "Oh, we don't know if we want to open up again." Like, you know what I mean?
Gonna
So
have
we'll see.
to rent out an entire theater for just me and you.
Shit, I mean, what, they're like $150 or some shit, right? They're not too
Yeah.
bad.
Go
Pretty crazy.
halvesies.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
buying
we'll
those tickets.
invite a few. We'll invite a few other people to go halvesies too. Be
Oh,
like, no
shit.
children, no nothing, no talking. Everybody sits like 5 seats apart. So we'll be good.
Oh, shit.
The last thing about the Batman that I think is kind of interesting, and I made a joke about this in the Discord, is Matt Reeves said he kind of modeled his Bruce Wayne, his Batman, after Kurt Cobain, the
Dude,
frontman for Nirvana.
dude, when I heard this before you made the joke,
Yeah,
because somebody posted it into my Geek Ultimate Alliance chat,
yeah,
and I got crickets for mine, except for like maybe 2 people. But I was
uh-huh.
like, "Oh no, he's gonna kill himself."
Yeah. That's what I said exactly too.
And I was
I
like,
was
"Oh
like,
shit!" But
I
like,
mean,
why?
I don't know. Granted, I will say we got, if I can find it, we got an interesting, because where did I post this at? Somebody in our chat, I believe it was, oh, I don't want to get the name wrong. It had a good, like, what are you gonna, is it an analogy or like a deep meaning of what it could be? I don't know what the word. Toast. Okay, so Toast actually says this after I posted the Nirvana thing. Toast says, I actually really like this. Kurt was infamous for just wanting to do what he was doing without the hype, fame, or notoriety that came with it. And the idea of a Batman, at least finally on film that just wants to serve his purpose and do his job without the eyes, the headlines, or even really the supervillains who are a result of him is interesting in an angle we haven't seen on film. So very thought out like perspective on the
I
film.
like that.
Yeah, I like it, but do you think that would actually happen? That's
Well,
the
like,
thing.
here's another thing that kind of came along with this news of the whole Kurt Cobain thing. They're like, "Oh, this Bruce Wayne is gonna be a recluse," and I was like, "When has Bruce Wayne not been a recluse?" Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, the idea of Bruce Wayne is billion-dollar playboy,
Hmm.
but if you really look at Bruce Wayne, he's not in the public eye a whole lot, not anymore.
Yeah.
Like the whole playboy philanthropist type of like idea of Bruce Wayne has kind of died down a lot in the
Yeah, which is
past
unfortunate.
15-20 years.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
feel like that was played along with like a lot, especially like Batman the animated series, the Batman, which was the other cartoon. But like I feel like once New 52 was out there, we
Hmm.
didn't really see Playboy Batman.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen it in comics a lot either. Obviously, we didn't get to see it in King's Run because his main focus was Catwoman.
Batman. Yeah.
So, oh yeah, obviously too. But like his love interest was Catwoman. So it's kind of, you don't want to have Bruce Wayne with all these women around. But that's when you actually throw Selena in there as Selena Kyle. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people forget Selena Kyle was also a socialite before she was outed as Catwoman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, we don't see a lot of that. I don't like the way Nolan portrayed it. Like they made him an asshole, like an
Yeah.
asshole billionaire. Like you can be a playboy and still be like admired. You know what I mean? Like that's the Bruce Wayne I like because he was never really an asshole in the animated series, but
No.
he always had women around him and
Mhm.
women wanted him, and I like that. But yeah, Nolan was all like, I'm arriving by helicopter with 3 women. I mean, like, that's the dream, right? But still, like, he doesn't need to be an asshole. Let me buy this fucking, building and let me do this. And like, I was like, okay, you're just making him a super douche.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never been a big fan of that. Just like I'm not a big fan of his family being corrupt because that seems like the typical story nowadays. So
It is, but it's the one thing that hasn't been played out in a movie yet. That's the
yeah,
big thing.
yeah, but it's unfortunate that it's that element that they're going with when there's a bunch of shit that we haven't had a Batman that doesn't kill. Like the most basic shit.
That
You
is
know what I
true.
mean? So it's just like, holy shit. And do you think we're not going to get Robin or the family in these movies?
In these movies, no.
No.
I don't
Yeah.
think we will like I was about to say ever.
Mhm.
Cuz honestly, for me as a moviegoer and as a comic book person and
Mhm.
comic book movie person, you see the success of Spider-Man, a
Yeah.
younger hero,
Mhm.
and you're like, why aren't you trying to go for that?
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
If anything, why are you not going for a Robin that's established at least?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because I think Robin is just as well known as Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Batman and Robin for the longest
Exactly.
time,
You can still act as though like kind of like the whole thing with Spider-Man in the whole MCU thing was, "Oh, we're
Mhm.
not going to tell his origin story. He's just
Yeah.
Spider-Man." Well, the
Yeah.
same thing with Robin. You don't need to show like the whole thing with the flying Graysons and everything else. You just know
Yeah.
that he is Robin. And
Yeah.
yeah, you can hint at it or do storytelling with it, whatever you want, but you don't have to show it. Just show us Robin,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. We they it's funny that they don't really care about that with secondary characters, right? But we will see Batman's origin story a million times and all that kind of stuff. But like Catwoman, no origin story for her in the Nolan films. She was just
None.
Catwoman.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's true.
She's probably going to be just Catwoman here too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I mean, we got an origin story, which was kind of weird in the, back in the Burton ones.
yeah.
But like, even then, it wasn't like really harped on, it's just how she became Catwoman. Um, So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting, and yeah, I think we could have a Robin because the way I think you do it is, kids are gonna grow, right? So you can start it out young. I mean, especially if you find somebody like Tom Holland who's 5'8" or whatever, and he's gonna be that size for the rest of his life. Like
And
then
he's
you're
gonna
like,
look
okay,
like that for another 40
yeah,
years.
yeah, he's got the baby face, and like you can have him play Robin for a while, right? But if you have somebody like what's the Shazam kid? He's gonna look
Oh
they
yeah.
look different. They
Yeah.
look different. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, if you can capture a Holland, then you can probably do Robin for 2 films, and then he becomes Nightwing in the third film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, the way I would do it is you have Robin established. The second film is where he starts having some turmoil and he's like, I don't want to be Robin anymore. And maybe he becomes Nightwing at the end of that movie. And then he either branches out to have his own film, or he in the third movie, he's officially Nightwing and they work together somehow.
Yeah.
So that's how I would do it. But yeah, for the most part, I don't understand why we have never had like an on-screen Bat Family film. And that's another reason why DC probably shut down the East Mohawk stuff, because they were like, we're going to do it.
We're still salty about it, people.
Yeah, dude, like it looked fantastic. It's
Oh
pretty
man.
crazy because it's been wiped from YouTube. That shit is probably like on the dark web. Like, oh man, you want to see this East Mohawk YouTube video? Like this trailer that nobody can find anymore or whatever. Like, dude, that
Oh
sucks.
man.
That's just sitting in Las Vegas somewhere because I think that's where they're from, just
Yeah.
chilling on somebody's hard drive, just waiting for Ryan
Insane.
Reynolds to leak it. Anyways, moving away from all the Batman shit, we have one more piece of entertainment news, which is uh Batgirl, another surprise actor, or I should say a name was added to the cast, and it was that of Mr. Michael Keaton. And this kind of puts to bed any suspicious like thoughts we might have had of, oh, maybe Affleck's going to show up, or maybe a new Batman's going to show up. The director said that there was going to be a Batman for sure in this film, but they couldn't say which Batman. And it was going to
Yeah.
be a real Batman. So we're
Yeah.
getting a real Batman, but it looks like the theory that Michael Keaton is going to be the Batman going forward in the DCEU is true. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know how I feel about it either, but I will say this. I always had a feeling that Flashpoint was the goodbye for Affleck's Batman.
Yeah.
It gives him one last hurrah to be like, here is me going out on my own terms.
Hmm.
Like while Justice League and everything else, like all of that was just like, we know the fiasco of that whole movie.
Yeah.
So I would I like a more active Batman, because
Hmm.
like I don't need the older Batman that like is also the guy in the chair,
Yeah.
you know?
Only and beyond.
Or or if he's going to be active Batman, I don't need, oh, I cracked my back. Oh,
Hmm.
like I can't do this like I used to. I don't need those jokes.
Yeah.
Like somebody else who was like that is their Batman may enjoy that, but Keaton was never my Batman.
Yeah.
Like I honestly, the first live action Batman that I remember watching was Val Kilmer and George
Really?
Clooney. Yeah,
Really?
I
Yeah. I remember
I'm
89 growing
I'm
up.
pretty sure Val Kilmer was my first Batman.
Yeah.
But like I could I could see it going that way.
Hmm.
And if that's the case, I hope this is kind of in the realm of what we first heard when Keaton was first rumored. He's going to help train these younger heroes. And then as the years go by, he will eventually train that of a Terry McGinnis.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like I feel like they're going way out of the way. It's like Marvel having to create the Avengers because they couldn't do X-Men, right? Like if they had the rights to X-Men, I think just now the Avengers would start showing up because they would have run the X-Men into the ground and they're like, we need something new, and then they would have started doing the Avengers. Because everybody knows the Avengers were fucking second fiddle to the X-Men. Maybe
Oh
even third
yeah.
fiddle.
Like
Like,
and even if you look at today's Marvel
mhm,
comics, like X-Men is kind of branded as its whole like it's a completely separate thing almost.
Yeah.
Like throughout the entire events and everything else, you'll probably see Wolverine, but
Yeah.
as far as like the other X-Men and everything that goes along with X-Men,
Mhm.
it's almost its own separate universe,
Yeah.
you know?
It's the best universe, in my opinion. I think
It's
outside of
good.
X-Men, the only character I care about is Spider-Man. And
Yeah.
he also did a crossover with the X-Men in the cartoon, so I was like, "Yep, he's an X-Men in my eyes." Even though he's not technically not a mutant, so it doesn't
Yeah.
count, but he hangs out with them, all right, by association. Anyway, you wanna know what I wanna see happen in The Flash? Is if this is if this not Keaton, if this is Affleck's farewell, he should die.
I want him to die. Like
Yeah.
as harsh as that is, the only reason why, yes, we will get the crybabies like just crying and yelling and throwing a temper tantrum. But
Mhm.
like after that, like don't get me wrong. There's the oh, well in a comic book, heroes are never
Yeah.
dead.
Mhm.
Whatever. For me it's just like he's dead. Like
Yeah.
put it to rest. Let's move forward. Let's do something new. Like
Yeah.
instead of because that's the big thing right now. Like
Mhm.
right now on my timeline, there is just a whole bunch of people saying that's it for me. I'm not watching any more DCEU films. Blah blah blah. All because Keaton is not in Batgirl. That's
Yeah.
it. And there is no confirmation of what happens in Flashpoint yet,
Yeah.
or in well, technically, I think it's still called Flashpoint. So it's like, why don't y'all just calm the fuck down
Yeah.
and watch the movie for what it is?
They're gonna watch it. Those people always say that shit, and they watch it anyways, you know?
Yeah.
I was not a fan of the Joker, and I was like, "I guess I'll watch it anyways," and then I'm like, Joker," like, so it's the fucking best. But, no, I see. Here's the why. If this is Affleck's last film, you have him go out like a hero. You have him do the Batman death. I sacrifice everything to save this. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if they're like, we gotta close the multiverse, and the Flash is like, I'll do it. Batman's like, sit down, kid. You know what I mean? And he does it. And what you have him do is you have him like as he's dying, you have him talk to Keaton and being like, they need a Batman. You have to stick
Oh,
around.
I guess I haven't talked to you about this.
What?
So Affleck, he could be lying just for the
Hmm.
fact of like, hey, you need to watch the goddamn movie.
Yeah.
But Affleck told I think it was Variety
Hmm.
that he and Keaton never saw each other on set.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that was the same thing with Snyder's fucking ending in the Snyder cut, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. But there's a difference for me. I think
mhm,
like you can get any A grade actor and
mhm,
they can have chemistry with a fucking broom. They can just
yeah,
act their ass off, right? Affleck, I feel like, is kind of like that actor.
mhm,
He is, in my eyes, from everything that I've seen before, he is a really good actor in my eyes.
yeah.
I want him to be face to face to Keaton. I
I
want
think that
him
would
to
be
share a
cool.
scene that isn't like, oh, that's green screen, you know?
Yeah. Well, so here's what you could do is if they couldn't be together, you have a body double where you're not showing Keaton's face. So if he's dying in his arms, you're shooting the back of his shoulder and his head,
Yeah.
maybe with the cowl on. And so he's talking to somebody that's not Keaton. And then you play the opposite of like, all right, we have, Keaton's holding him like that, and you only see Keaton's face and like
Oh, that's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you do it like that. So it makes it not like YouTube jump cuts like the way Snyder cut was kind of doing, where it's like, are they really talking to each other? And then you throw in a random Russian voice or whatever for Amber Heard just out of nowhere. So makes it different, but I don't know. I would hope Affleck's lying, but I could also see him telling the truth because one, he was out there fucking J-Lo on boats while the film was being,
Yeah,
made.
like,
So
and this was amidst like other variants and like Delta variant and everything else.
yeah,
So I can, and Keaton, that was like one of the big things for Keaton. He's like, hey, if this shit is still going down and it is not safe for me, I'm
yeah,
getting older in age. Like, I need to look out for
yeah,
me.
yeah, for
And
sure.
if that is his line, then bravo on him. Like, okay,
Yeah,
cool. But
good.
it would be cool to see,
Yeah,
That's my thing.
yeah. So I'm hoping that Affleck would go out with a bang because one, then he can just move on. We can be like, yo, he's dead, guys. He had a cool death. Because it's like if you bring back, I mean, he's not equivalent to Downey Jr. in this situation, but if you bring back Downey Jr., it hurts the Endgame ending. I'm sorry.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
it just hurts it. Like, everybody's like, what is it? I love you 3000 or whatever. Like, that's the biggest fucking thing. Like, that
yeah.
means nothing anymore. It's like, okay, now he's back. He can say it in person, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's lame. Like, you got to keep him dead. But will it happen? I guarantee they're back at some point. I
I think
guarantee it.
he's back because in the comics, Riri Williams, who becomes Ironheart,
Mm-hmm.
she creates an AI using Stark technology,
Mm-hmm.
and there is an AI that is literally Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Uh, so like I could see them paying Robert Downey and be like, "Hey, we just need your voice,"
Yeah.
and that's how you get him back.
20 million? Okay. Easily do that. All right, let's move on to viewer questions. We've talked about the Batman long enough. So we got a few questions this week, which we appreciate you guys sending these in. Y'all are awesome because it makes the podcast just more exciting. I like to hear from you guys. So we have Raphael this week. He says, very good podcast. This week, I read Batcat number 10. First of all, where are you getting your stuff from, Raphael? Because let us know if you're reading Batcat number 10. Because this week came out, we got number 9. I was just like, whoa. But he also said Batcat number 10, which I believe he meant number 9. And the Batman, the One Dark Knight. Love them both. Sharp's art is not my preference, but of the 3 issues, I feel like it has the best pages in this one. I love the Joker page, the talk between Bruce and Alfred, and the last page showing Selina in the different lines of time. My question is there any villains that you would love to see in the role of an anti-hero now?
Ooh.
I don't have one because I'm actually somebody that hates villains becoming anti-heroes. Because all the ones I would have loved to seen become anti-heroes are already anti-heroes. Harley, Catwoman, Clayface, like
Ivy.
yeah, Ivy. It's always the hot girls, right? They want them to be good. Like the hot ones need to be good. Everybody else, but I don't like because eventually Batman. I feel like Batman's worked with every one of his villains at one point, right?
Yeah.
Like to beat another villain or something like that. I don't like this whole. It's nice to think that even the worst people can be redeemable, but after a while, if you're like, "Oh, remember the one time he was good," and like
I I have a cheat answer because I think technically he is, but it's never been shown.
mm-hmm. What you got?
Ra's al Ghul, Raish.
He's never been good, you mean?
No, like
Like
because
an anti-hero.
people call him an eco terrorist, which
Yeah.
he wants the better good for the Earth. Who is
Mhm.
also an eco terrorist? Oh, Poison Ivy, but she has been shown doing good things.
Yeah.
Ra's al Ghul has not been shown doing good things.
Yeah, I could see that. But it's also like then you get into I don't know, man. It's I mean, once you start getting into like philosophical stuff, because like you could say Harley, like Catwoman, you can make an argument she hasn't really done that much bad stuff. Because I feel like some people in her writing have her as a killer, and others don't have her as a killer. King currently has her as a killer because she killed the
Yeah,
Joker, but like some people totally avoid having Catwoman kill anybody ever. And so like you can make it. I want to say Harley's got I've read an issue where Harley kills kids. So like she's gangster. And
fuck.
Ivy, yeah, it was like one of those Harley like missions or whatever. It's a holiday issue. She gives all the kids like little Game Boys and stuff and they're bombs. And like you just assume that they all fucking die. So I'm just like, holy
Oh
shit.
shit!
So Harley's gangster. And then Ivy, we know that Ivy is genuinely one of the most powerful fucking villains on planet Earth. So she can control or do anything. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're just like Rachel Ghoul has remembered, if we're going with timelines, has lived throughout all of history, it feels like, and has massacred people his entire life. So it's just kind of like,
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, is that really? That's like giving that's like being like, all right, we really gonna give Hitler a pass here? You know what I mean? You know, like Catwoman,
Oh
Ivy,
shit.
maybe even Harley, they could be redeemable, but this
Yeah,
guy, like, I think he's got to spend a few hundred years in jail first. You know what I mean?
that's
So,
true.
but yeah, I've never been a big fan of the anti-hero thing, because I don't know, man. It's just kind of weird. I just never been a big fan of it because it seems like they do it a lot now, and I don't like it. I would like to see more heroes become villains, though, because we don't see enough of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was
But
kind of thinking that too, but
you
like,
have to like
who
think
would
they're
you do
gonna
it
be a
with?
villain. Ghostmaker, because he's a shitty character. You might as well have made him a villain in the first place.
Oh, that's true.
You know, I also don't really like the idea of making characters that are anti-hero, like you start them out as an anti-hero. Like I think you should be a hero or a villain. That's it. And then you go to either or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a Jason Todd, right? He started out as a hero, but then he's been fucking demoted to anti-hero because of his actions, you know?
Oh, that's
Um
true.
so stuff like that. But I would prefer, like we talked about on this podcast, Ted Cord would have been great. I thought that would have
Oh,
been
that would
cool,
have been awesome.
you know? But they did the whole, oh, it's actually Black Mask. I would love for them to, I mean, look at what Tom King did with Adam Strange. I had no problem with that. So
Yeah,
I thought that
yeah,
was cool too. So like I don't mind heroes becoming villains because that it's believable, right? Like it seems like some people cannot handle the righteousness of doing the right thing all the time because, they're human. Eventually something goes bad. And
yeah,
they don't not everybody's going to have that moral high ground. So, yeah, that's kind of my answer there. I don't really have one just because I'm not a big fan of the whole like villains becoming heroes thing. Next up, we have Ivan Jr., who says, "If you guys are in charge of making Batman Beyond live action movie, who would you have direct it, and who would you cast?" Thanks for answering my last question. You guys are awesome. Do you have somebody you'd pick for this?
so I do.
Oh, okay.
So I would choose the dude that directed uh Blade Runner, uh
2042 or whatever.
2049,
Oh, was it
and
2049? Okay.
I think it's 49,
I'm thinking of
and
Battlefield, I think.
Dune.
Oh, okay.
Because if you look at both Dune, I haven't watched it yet, but if you just
Hmm.
look at the way it looks and also the way Blade Runner looked,
Yeah.
that's fucking Neo Gotham, like
Hmm.
100%.
I can see
And
that.
then I would cast who would have been Batman, Nicholas Holt as Terry McGinnis.
Uh, is that Beast?
Yeah,
Ooh, I don't know if I like that.
really.
Yeah. I just don't feel like he has the right hairstyle and look. I feel like who the fuck would I cast? I feel like it's got to be kind of like a pretty bad boy needs to be Terry McGinnis. You know what I mean? Um, I'm trying to think of like right now who fits that bill.
Who was who was what'd you call them? Um the Oh man,
I
you
don't
had
know
a
what you're
term.
referencing.
You had a term for it, for like the guy that everybody wanted in Hollywood. Uh,
Oh, fuck, I don't remember. Like the It Boy? No, that's not it. It's not It Boy.
was it It Boy? I think it
I
might
mean
have
that's a
been.
common term. That's a common
Yeah.
Hollywood term, but I don't
Yeah.
know if
I
I
think
said
it
something
was It
different.
Boy, and it's the dude that's gonna be Adam Smasher in
Oh yeah,
Black Adam.
yeah. Like it's like the current heartthrob and kind of shit
Yeah,
like that. Yeah. Yeah.
because he
Adam
was all over
Smasher.
Netflix for
I don't know
like
if
the
I
past
have
few
him
years.
either, but like when I picture McGinnis, fuck, who would I think? Like not somebody like Harry Styles, not like that, but kind of like that build and just he's got to have that kind of like charming bad boy kind of vibe. I don't know. I agree with your director pick though. Like that's a solid pick cuz I don't know anybody else that I would go for, or I'm trying to think of like futuristic type movies that would do that. Um
Who
but
who directed Tron? The second Tron movie.
Well, I think Tron's a little too, like, crazy because that's just,
Yeah,
like, straight video game, you know what I mean?
yeah.
I didn't mind the way I mean, this wasn't a great film, but, like, if you saw Ghost in the Shell, I like the way they built that universe.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Ghost in the Shell looked kinda cool, so maybe the people that work on that. And also too, you gotta remember that, like, director doesn't necessarily build the world either. Like, you're working with an art design team and all that kinda shit,
And like
so, you
the
know.
script writer and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta really think about who is on that whole team. Um, yeah, it's a tough one. I had just saw this question, so I can't say that I have somebody in mind, but it would have to definitely be like that heartthrobby type of bad boy to be Terry McGinnis because he's got to be kind of an asshole, but he's got to be good looking so he kind of gets away with stuff, you know what I mean? Like that's how I see Terry McGinnis. Obviously I'd still go Keaton for Batman Beyond for being the Batman. And yeah, I don't know. I would agree with Clay's pick for director.
So
But
I literally just Googled 2021 Hollywood heartthrob, and the first link sent me to like all of these uh
guys, you don't know.
Vietnamese Korean actors.
Oh, of course. Yeah, cuz K-pop. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah,
I
let's
don't
just
know
get
any
some
of these
of
guys.
yeah, let's try to get some BTS to be the main characters in fucking a Batman movie.
Oh, that'd be great.
All right, let's go to the next question. Our final one is from Red Hood. I personally enjoyed Robin and Batman number two for the most part. I agree Batman would do what he did. I just have one problem. Batman was calling Robin a soldier. And I don't know. I just don't feel how. I don't like how Jeff seems to be writing Batman as if he sees Dick as nothing more than a soldier. I could agree with that. Let's see. I do have two questions. But go for it.
Well, I was gonna
Or
say I feel like Batman has called his family soldiers before. Like, this is a war on crime. Like, you are soldiers.
yeah, yeah, but I think it's, we did mention how, it did feel like Frank Miller type Batman who was like a
Ah, that's
little
true.
too over aggressive with shit.
Yeah.
So I can agree kind of where he's coming from. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he's used the word soldiers before. Okay, you guys might have talked about it before, but what do y'all think about the new event that's coming in March called Shadow War? Is that Shadow of the Bat? Is that what that is? Or is it something different?
I think it's like, yeah, I think Shadow of the Bat goes into Shadow War.
Okay.
I
I don't
think. Let me look it up.
personally yeah, I personally don't like that we are getting another event so soon, but whatever. Another question is, what is your favorite Batman the Animated Series episode? Okay, so to answer the Shadow War, I had no idea what that is. We try not to go super far in advance to see what DC is doing, because we read these things week to week. But yeah, I don't care about another event right now. I'm interested in Shadow of the Bat because I like Tamaki, who's writing it. So I'm interested in that. Obviously, I like what's happening with Batman 118 and where they're going with that story.
So one thing that may have hinted towards this,
Hmm.
um, if you were if you're reading uh Deathstroke
Hmm.
Deathstroke Inc. And then also I think it was a part of the uh whatchamacallit,
Was it
the
Fear State?
villains giant, I think it was,
Oh
because
yeah, yeah,
Talia
yeah.
al Ghul had a story there.
Yeah.
Apparently, it says here there is a DC confirms Shadow War Batman event with the Ghoul family in 2022.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um, don't care unless the Shadow of the Bat really builds it up to be something good. I won't care about an event until because that's what exactly what happened with Fear State and Future State, right? Like there was no reason for them, and it feels like they forced a story to make those events happen.
Yeah.
So unless the lead up to the event is good, I won't care. Um,
So I could see this going one of two ways.
mhm,
If it's during the whole time where Batman is not in Gotham, we've known that the uh what is it? The League of Assassins
yeah,
has always been a group that's like, "Oh, we're interested in Batman, and because we're interested in Batman, we're also interested in Gotham."
yeah,
Like, I could see like, and this again, this isn't necessarily my expectation, but I could see how it could probably be a good story of
mhm,
like, hey, maybe we want to take over Gotham
Yeah.
and have legitimate reasons, kind of like how we were saying, doing good things for the wrong reasons or doing good things as a villain. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we're gonna kind of like the whole thing. This is just like Bane though. Hey,
Mhm.
I'm going to take over the city and do
Yeah.
better than you ever did.
Yeah.
Man, I kind of just put myself in a corner there.
Mhm.
Uh,
I mean, Bane was great though, the way they did it. That
it
was fucking
was.
phenomenal.
And the only thing that would make this a little more interesting for me is technically the ghouls are family, you know?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
gets a little complicated in how you kind of deal with them. Especially
Mhm.
now when your relationship with Robin, aka Damien, is kind of still rocky,
Yeah.
you
It's
know?
hard to do that again because remember, like, Joker tried to do the same shit right after Bane. So that would be a third fucking event where somebody tries to take over Gotham like that.
Yeah.
So,
And that's just my guess. I don't necessarily know
yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what this fucking event's going on. But it just made me think, and this has nothing to do with the Shadow event. I I cannot recall a time that, and I'm surprised they would have never written this story, where Batman has actually taken over the League of Assassins because they want him to be their leader.
Yeah.
But like, what if he's like, I'll lead, but you're gonna be under my rule by my rules?
Ooh. I
Like, you
want
know what
that.
I mean? I wonder how that would go because he wouldn't need Batman Inc. at that point.
You wouldn't need Batman Inc. And like the Bat family would always have reinforcements at all
Yeah.
times.
Like, can you
Would it
imagine?
make it too
So,
easy to be Batman?
yes and no, but this is how you do it. This is how you do it, right? You have a world like a world crisis event. I don't want to say crisis, but I'm just using that word in general, not
Yeah.
an actual crisis. You have a world event where like Superman, everybody is fucking like we're over swamped. We're being attacked by maybe two different alien races or some shit like that. Who
Yeah.
knows? And then so what you end up doing is you have Batman. He's like, if you got to make it really, really stressed that fucking we're losing. Like we're not winning this. Like we're and I'm not talking about fucking Scott Snyder, let's get fucking Joker who laughs guy, that kind of shit, because that's terrible. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, we're trying everything and it's rough. Like we're barely holding on. And Batman's all like, I got one more thing up my sleeve. And he goes to Ra's al Ghul and he's like, I'm ready to become the head of the demon. And he is like, and then he takes it over and he gets all the reinforcements of the League of
So
Assassins.
that's the
And
monkey's paw. Like, hey,
I
I
get,
can save the world, but
yeah,
now I'm known as the leader of these
yeah,
deadly assassins.
yeah. And you can have him be like, I'm going to rule my way and whatever, however, how he does it. And like, I don't know how they would have it because I feel like Ra's al Ghul would be like, you can become the demon, but you have to kill the demon. And so there would be that kind of situation, but knowing Batman, he would kill him, but instantly put him in the Lazarus pit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
he doesn't technically die.
It's like, oh,
Maybe,
your heart stopped for only 3 seconds.
yeah. I
So
mean,
you died.
he technically, you know what? He took the chance on killing what's his face, Namco or whatever his name
Yeah.
is. Um, So I'm surprised that situation hasn't arisen, but it would be interesting. It'd be something different, but you'd have to write it in a way. It's so tricky, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like that's kind of crossing a line. But when hasn't Batman crossed the line? You know what I mean? Like he's not perfect, but it's
Like,
you got to just
but
make sure
see,
you don't break his moral compass. That's
but
the
then
part.
you see that's how you keep it. That's how you make it interesting. Is that he keeps it a secret? You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
like the family doesn't know, the Justice League doesn't know,
Yeah.
and like kind of how Amanda Waller keeps the Suicide Squad a secret, and like really rubs Batman the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like you do that with the Justice League. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a Justice League event. Oh, guys, y'all can sit back. I got this. And they're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? And they investigate. Wait, holy shit! You're a leader of this deadly assassin group. What the fuck's wrong
Yeah.
with you, man?
Yeah. How would you feel about this twist of this? I feel like I'm giving DC gold here. You fucking have Batman, and I want to see this because you never see it in comics. A full issue of a fight between Batman and Raish, but nobody wins at the end. Like it's the whole fucking issue is the fight, and they're talking about their morals, they're talking about their beliefs, but at the end they're still fighting. And out of nowhere, like Batman's all like, I can't take a life," and Damian kills Raish, and he's like, "I'll be the demon dad, so you don't have to break your rule." How would that be?
Fuck. See,
Right?
I'm
Right?
done with that.
Yeah. Because then your son makes the ultimate sacrifice for you. He's like, "Damon, you can't." He's like, "Dad, you're better than anybody. Like, I
Yeah.
will be the demon. I was born to be the demon. Like, I will rule as you would, but you don't have to get your hands dirty." That would be fucking great.
See, and I would like that because of how many times it has been teased that Damien at one point does become the demon.
Yeah. But it would also explain why Damien's never in future stories.
Yeah.
Like he's not in Tom King's run, so he's probably the demon.
Yeah.
Like that. God damn it, DC! I swear to God. Like, how do you not write these stories? But anyways, moving on to the next question of it is, do you have a favorite animated series episode?
Was for Batman the Animated Series?
Yeah,
Um
I
my
don't. I
favorite
can't pick, but I
there's
have
a
two.
there's a lot of episodes that are
Yeah,
just like great.
I love the Gray Ghost. Love that
Okay.
episode.
It's a fun
And
episode.
yes, I love that episode and Heart because like I love anything with Catwoman in it. I mean, I love every Batman animated series episode, but
Mhm.
Clock King, love Clock King, and
Okay, I remember that one.
I love Harley's Bad Day or whatever, the one where she gets
Oh, when
accused of
she's like
stealing.
she
Yeah.
like goes free and she's like,
Hmm.
"Yeah." No, I think mine, and this is kind of a cheat. Mine is the one where he faces Brainiac and it's actually Superman. It's a Robin story where
Oh.
he goes to Superman,
Uh huh.
or like either Superman goes to Robin or Robin goes to Superman,
Uh huh.
and they're like, "Oh, why hasn't Batman been active?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know." But then he tells Superman, he's like, "Hey, you got to be Batman. You
Hmm.
just have to be Batman." And
Isn't
like he
that
fights
a
Bane. He fights
Superman
Bane.
episode though?
I'm pretty sure it's a Batman the Animated Series episode.
You sure? Because
I'm
they did crossovers a lot. That's the thing. I don't
I'm
remember that
pretty sure.
being
I'm looking it up right now. I'm
Batman.
pretty sure
Yeah,
because
you might be right,
I've done a
but
rewatch of both. But
uh,
I was recently watching Batman the Animated Series during the shutdown.
yeah,
I haven't seen Superman the Animated Series in a while.
yeah. Because I don't remember a lot of crossovers. I mean, I don't remember a lot of episodes. I mean that one in particular. When you think like when you say Brainiac, I don't know why I automatically thought of the Riddler episode where he's in the maze. That's a really good one too.
Yeah.
Where they have to answer a bunch of stuff. But when I think of Batman Superman animated, it's when he goes to visit and like he goes out on dates with Lois, and that's when they find
So
out each
that's
other.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
first crossover. This one is called Nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
This is God damn it. It's
It's
Superman.
animated,
Hold
right?
on. It's
Told you.
Superman
It's
the Animated
Superman.
Series.
Told you. I
Okay.
knew it.
So let me think.
Yeah.
Batman the Animated Series. I think I oh, the one with a guard. The one that he's
Oh,
like,
Lockdown or whatever his
yeah,
name
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
one. I
Yeah.
think that is my favorite episode.
Yeah, that episode's good because that's what should have been the synopsis of the Suicide Squad of them being fearful of Batman. That
Yeah.
should have been the way they saw. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
There's
Lockdown would
that
have been
one,
a
and then
good
there's the not Heart of Ice, but the next,
Mr. Freeze one.
yeah, the one where he like builds a utopia, and
I don't remember that one. Is that when the animation changed?
I think it may have been when the animation changed.
So I'm foggy when the animation changed because they're not my favorite. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
stories are
yeah.
good, but I don't like the animation. And I've only seen those seasons like once or twice compared to the other ones. Like I'll watch the other ones a lot.
True.
Um,
But like
but
I think Lockdown is my favorite one.
yeah, that one's really good. I love all the Joker ones. Like anything that Joker's Wild when he breaks has a casino, like
Oh
or
yeah,
yeah,
that
he's
one's
really
good
mad
too.
about that one.
Yeah.
That one's really good. But the thing about the animated series, that's why I don't have a favorite one, is there are episodes where it just involve mob bosses that are also really good, like Daggett and oh fuck, even the Clayface episodes are good. I think that's why Clayface is one of my favorite Batman villains is because of the animated series.
Yeah.
Because like when he's just trying to become an actor again, and he's like doing all these crimes and stuff, like that's awesome. Um, yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that one, Red Hood, because I have said it a million times. The Batman animated series is the best source of Batman content, in my opinion. Besides the comics, you can't just count the comics, but I think it's the best media to know about Batman and to watch Batman
Oh,
in.
and is it a two-parter or a three-parter? The one with the is it the introduction of Batgirl?
It might be. Oh, the one where she also falls from the Scarecrow building is also really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's fantastic too. That's not part of where she's introduced, but yeah. God damn. That fucking it's the best series. Like, oh my god, hands down. It's fucking great. But yeah, I don't have a favorite. I cannot answer that because
Oh,
they're all good.
Joker's favor.
Oh yeah, where he gets that plumpy
That
guy to be all like,
that
oh yeah,
random dude where he like
yeah,
cuts him off on the very beginning of the
yeah,
episode. Dude, that
yeah,
episode I actually pulled it up. That's the episode that I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh fuck." Like
That's a really good episode
that's
too.
when you have like the worst luck. Is that you're just
Yeah.
like, "Fuck you, man." It's like, "Oh shit, that's the Joker." You know what? Nope, I'm done. And
Yeah.
just run out of town. No, this dude gets fucked his entire life because of
Yeah.
Joker.
Yeah. Well, see, I also love the one where fucking Ivy and Harley meet for the first time, like because they're robbing a museum, and she's like gotten kicked out by Joker,
Yeah.
so they like do all the crimes together and live in like a toxic waste dump. Like that one's really dope too. There's just too many good ones. If you've never seen the Batman animated series while listening to this podcast, you're doing yourself a disservice.
What was
Like,
the one where he fought the dude that's like, "Oh, I know the secret fighting style. One touch and you're dead." And
oh
he
yeah, that's the
fuck
ninja guy.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually two different series because the cool thing about are two different episodes, like not back to back, but the first episode was yeah, he was like stealing stuff, and Batman, that was the only guy Batman could not beat when he was training
Yeah.
with his master or whatever. And then I forgot why he comes back to the city. But I think it comes back when Robin is part of the crew.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, that was a really good episode too. Like just because the way you see Batman get out of a lot of situations in the animated series is really awesome. Like when he puts himself in a safe when Riddler's going to blow up the bank, like he dives into a safe to survive the explosion. Like
Yeah.
that was pretty crazy. Yeah. If you haven't watched the animated series, y'all need to fucking watch it because it's insane. But anyways, let's move on to comic books because it has been a while, or we have a lot to talk about, and we've been talking about anything else but comics. So let's dive into this. So I skimmed Robins. It came out this week. We talked about this a few weeks back. This was the what was it, like a poll winner, right? What was it, a particular type of poll or tournament? This was like a tournament winner book
Yeah.
that screwed out Blue Beetle, in our opinion.
Yeah. The round
And
robin.
yeah, and the most exciting thing about this book last time we reviewed the first issue was there was a possibility of a new Robin that we knew nothing about, and it was a female. And they said that they were the first Robin. I skimmed this book. I saw her at the start of the book and never saw her again. And it looks like there's like Joker things gonna be happening at the end, and Red Hood's got a sword and a bunch of other stuff's going on, and
That's
there's
weird.
there's like long-haired Dick Grayson as Nightwing. It's really weird, and I was like, yeah, nothing in here really interests me. And let's not forget that this was also the same book where Red Hood just like nonchalantly blew somebody up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if they discussed that in this book because they didn't really discuss it in the last book. But yeah, I skimmed this book, didn't really care about it. So yeah, there's that. Now I'm gonna talk about this book right now because Clay didn't read it, which it's unfortunate, but I can understand it. And the way I want to preface this is this book was Batman One Dark Night. which I was like, "Ugh, another Dark Knight book, whatever." Like,
And
you
let me
know?
remind you guys, we had 4 other books that are like 30 plus pages. So
Yeah,
like it
it's
was rough
nuts.
this week.
So here's the thing, and this is how I went into this book, and that's why I was like surprised by the end of it. I had read this right after I read Lonely City 2. And so I was like, oh, fuck, another 50 plus page book. Because Lonely City is like 56 pages.
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking shit, I don't want to read this. And so the book started out kind of slow. And I was just like, do I want to keep reading this book? And I was like, let me just finish it. Let me just finish it. So the premise of the book is Batman. There's like something going on in the city. Like there's all these gangs. I think there's a heat wave going on. So like everybody's kind of like antsy. It's like, oh fuck, this heat wave, all this kind of shit. Batman's flying around in the fucking Batwing. Gordon is like, there's a ceremony going on or whatever. But while this police ceremony is going on, they're transporting somebody from Arkham to this new Blackgate facility that they've built.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about this is like these gangs know this thing is going to happen. And this one gang's like, yo, we gotta, like, they're moving EMP, which is this character. I've never
Yeah.
heard of this character before, so I'm assuming they're new to this book. And they're like, they're moving EMP, we gotta get them. And there's like this 2-page spread of a map of like the actual route that the GCPD is going to take to get to this new place. And like they have a convoy and everything. And essentially, have you ever seen the movie SWAT?
Yeah.
When that guy puts a like $1 million bounty on like anybody that helps me escape, like I'll give you $10 million or whatever. That's essentially what happens here. So like it's not a bounty, but there's people that want to get this guy out. And like there's all these people fighting, all these gangs fighting all over the city. And what ends up happening is they're driving and Batman's all like, Batman knows this particular villain is troublesome because his name's EMP. He can make like something crazy happen and he absorbs light apparently. So like if he wakes up, he can be like crazy strong. And so Batman's all like, all right, we're going to watch this. We're going to watch him. And it's going between the moving of this convoy with this character. Batman's following overhead. There was some conversation between Batman and Alfred that I really didn't like at times. It's just like a weird conversation. But Gordon is giving this person like the medal to the city or some bullshit. And during this thing, somebody sets off an RPG, blowing up one of the cop cars and letting this EMP guy out. And Batman's like, fuck, I gotta get down there. So he goes and this EMP guy wakes up and he's all like, freedom. And he's like trying to run. They're running across rooftops and Batman's trying to chase him. And people are trying to like, it's essentially just a rooftop jump and everybody's kind of fighting around the city and shit. Well, Batman's all like, I guess they can monitor this EMP guy because he's so powerful. And they're like, oh shit, he's out. Like, he needs to be caught now or it's going to be worse than 5 years ago. They referenced something that happened 5 years ago. I guess it's why he got caught. And well, Batman's chasing him or whatever. And he's like, oh, you're not going to catch me or whatever. And he ends up falling off the building and Batman's like, no. And he tries to dive after him. He lands on a lighting fixture and blows out the whole city. So all of Gotham goes black. He essentially sets off an EMP. Nobody can talk to anybody. Cell phones, walkies, everything are out. And Batman's like, oh shit. And it's like, I think it's like midnight or something like that. And what ends up happening is like, I got to get him back to Blackgate before dawn. Or he's going to be able to absorb like all the sunlight and cause like an even bigger catastrophe. Yeah, like he's apparently super powerful. So it's called One Dark Night because every light in Gotham is out. So that means it's going to be pure darkness in Gotham with Batman. And he has to get this villain all the way like blocks and blocks and blocks across the city with no technology. So it's going to be Batman crossing Gotham with all of these riots and shit happening, carrying this fucking villain on his back, and he has to do it before dawn. And I was just like, that's actually a really cool premise. Because, like, yeah, it was pretty dope. And I wasn't liking it at the start. But then as it was going on, I was like, okay. I was like, who is this villain? I don't understand why he's so powerful. because I think they were going to put him in a chamber that was going to be able to be like generate power for the city or some shit like that. Like he was like really important. But since he was
Huh.
absorbed so much energy, he fucking set off an EMP and destroyed all of Gotham. So like he can't talk to anybody. He can't talk to Alfred. He can't talk to anybody, even the cops. The cops have no communication with each other. So it's gonna be all hell breaks loose. And I'm like, and it's just gonna be Batman in Gotham by himself. And he has one mission to get this guy to fucking Blackgate before the sun rises. Like, that's actually different and interesting. So I was like, oh fucking K, I'm down. And I'm excited to see how Batman in the next book is going to start crossing this city of thieves and fucking murderers with this villain on his back. So yeah,
Huh.
it's not a bad concept. So that was pretty cool. That was also the other book that besides Batcat that Ralph said he liked. So yeah, I highly suggest you read it. It was good. Definitely check that out. But from there, let's go over to Nightwing. This was a fun episode, fun issue.
This
What did you
was
think
a
of
fun
this?
issue. Now, this issue has been being kind of like hyped up for a while. I will
Hmm.
say it's a really fun gimmick.
Yeah,
Uh so the premise of this whole gimmick is that like it's all one panel. Like
yeah.
all 26 pages or 24 pages or however long this is all one panel. And the way that works is everything is a double page spread if you
Hmm.
buy the actual book. I've already seen people buy multiple copies, rip this apart and tape it on their wall.
Really?
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it looks kind of fucking cool. Like, and
Yeah,
there's already somebody who bought like a long custom freaking frame and put it on
yeah.
their wall also.
God,
So
how?
I
I'm just
I
trying to think of
don't
like how
know.
long your wall has to be.
Yeah, for real. Um, but I really enjoyed this. This
Yeah.
isn't like, so for me, I thought, okay, how is Taylor going to ease us back into his story? Because Nightwing was taken over by Fear State
Hmm.
for 3 issues.
Yeah.
And I was just like, God damn, are you just gonna jump into everything and get things like super complicated for us?
Mm.
This was a like, hey, let's just remember, like, because he did put points in there, like, oh, you put a bounty on your head, okay? Well, for what? Oh, for this thing that you did, okay? That
Hmm.
reminds us of what happened, okay? So he's putting things in there that it kind
Yeah.
of eases back into this story, which I also really appreciate.
Yeah.
Um, I dug this. There's like even like a Twitter meme in here that by Gail Simone herself.
Hmm.
There's an inside joke about her not being a bear,
Hmm.
and in one of these panels, they're on it says to Tola away. There's a like flyer that says, "I'm definitely not a bear." The G Simone, and like I can't read the bottom part, so
Hmm.
it's like just putting random stuff in there.
Yeah.
It's a fun issue. I really enjoyed this. The bounty is not on Nightwing's head. It's actually on Dick Grayson's head because
Yeah.
of all the shit that he basically said in front of a camera because he's set up that press conference of what he's going to be using his money for.
Hmm.
I dug this. How did you feel about this and the inclusion of Batgirl in this?
Um, I enjoyed it. One, I loved that Barbara was saying they better not hurt our puppy, meaning
Yeah,
like they're in a relationship. So that's kind of nice. But then again, I don't know if it's like family speak. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
we're a family, so it's all our puppy. You know. But I kind of take it as they are dating. The gimmick, fucking fantastic. Like I don't keep up to date on all this stuff. I'm not on Twitter. I don't follow all these people. I remember you speaking about a gimmick that was going to happen in a future issue. So this was cool because this is one of those things that you normally get on a double page spread, and that's like the cool part of the issue. But they were just like, why don't we just do that for the whole fucking issue? You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so that was kind of cool. It's also always nice to see these progression, like of like, oh yeah, he tumbles through the air and he goes through the window and he does this and that. I will say little sus at the start where he just goes up the fire escape. It's instantly
And putting
Nightwing.
on his,
Yeah, and I was
and
just
he's
like,
like, switch to Oracle. I was like,
yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that,
Yeah, I was just like,
but
you
it
could have
still
had him run
works.
through a building. Yeah, you know what I mean? But I was just like, it's still awesome. It's cool. Those are the things you let slide. But yeah, I thought it was awesome. I love that, he was saving the puppy. Like that was the main premise. This is essentially Nightwing John Wick without the death of the puppy. But
Yeah,
you never know with Tom Taylor. This dog could die by the end of his run. So
stop
we'll
it.
see. We'll
Don't
see
do
what
it.
happens. He could pull a Tom King, you know. So there we'll see what happens. But yeah, overall, like this, I was happy that this was such a fast read because I had so many books to read. And
Yeah.
I was just all like, I'm so glad this was so
Oh,
fast.
it was
Like,
the first issue that I read. I was
oh,
like, I
really?
know that this is all double page spreads,
Mhm.
so it's just gonna be boom, boom, boom. Most of the stuff that I like, what took me so long was, and so long as in like, oh, this is literally a 10-minute read, if not less, was just okay. I read everything. Let's look in the background to see if there's anything that like we're supposed to be seeing or whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, I thought it was awesome. I mean, like you said, it was a good way to like remind us of what was happening in Nightwing because we haven't had that story for 2 or 3 months now. So yeah, it was cool. I thought it was awesome, and it's a smart fucking way to get people to buy multiple issues of this book
Yeah,
if you want that full page spread. Because if you want that, I'm assuming. I mean, technically, you only need to buy 2 books if I'm
technically,
doing my
yeah.
math right. Yeah. Because, well, maybe 3 because of the 24 and 25th page, maybe. So, I mean, the like first page and the last page.
Oh yeah,
Um,
true.
so you might need to buy 3 books, but still, smart fucking gimmick. Like, not gonna lie. But it was good. It was good. Tom Taylor, we've always said his Nightwing's been great, so I'm excited to see more. Moving on from Nightwing, we got Ram V's last Catwoman. What did you think of this book? I felt like it wasn't as good as all the previous Catwomans.
I don't think it was as good either. This at some point felt rushed,
Mhm.
but also not enough in it.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why is I feel like the first half of this story is, hey, do you know all the shit that happened in like the past 10 issues, especially the last two?
Mhm.
Let's put it all in this book.
Yeah.
And it was just a recap. And like as soon as I saw Ghostmaker, I was like, okay, kind of just whatever. Uh-huh. Yeah, what like, and they're trying to make this character relevant.
Yeah.
The only problem is I don't care.
Same.
So like they show that he actually knows the identity of, I keep forgetting her name.
Which that was never shown,
No, it wasn't. And
and I
that's the
hate when they
reason
do
why,
that.
that's why I'm like, that's not how the fight went.
Mhm.
Like they made it a really big point to show how badass they both were in the last issue,
Yeah.
and it was like almost seamlessly like just over with as
Yeah.
soon as Ghostmaker got there, and now there's like a whole 5 pages worth of story that you never told us.
Yeah.
Like,
You could, just to play devil's advocate, you could take this as Selena was lying about everything because she made it seem like a rom com kind of thing a little
yeah,
bit. So it could just be a complete story because she does need to put herself away from the scene because they know she's Catwoman, like in this story. Like
yeah.
they know Selena Kyle
What
is
I
Catwoman.
do love is
Hmm.
the fact that she was legitimately working with Riddler, but of course they like turned their backs on her.
Yeah.
And then like when that got brought up, she's like, "Oh yeah, like Riddler did that. That's all
Yeah.
Riddler. Like
Hmm.
he was working with the Penguin." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "That's fucking dirty."
Yeah, no, I that's what I've always loved about Catwoman. She's obviously just a female version of Batman, but she plays it a lot more sly. Like she knows how to bait and switch everything. Like it's,
Yeah.
fucking great. And that's how she, usually beats Batman at times. But yeah, no, I didn't hate the issue or anything like that. It did feel like, all right, this was kind of how Tynan was trying to tie up everything in that massive fucking Arkham Omega, whatever the hell he
Oh
did,
yeah.
which that was just what it is. I don't really like these kind of issues, because why waste a whole issue on a recap? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but it was his last issue, so maybe he just wanted to send off, because at the end of this book, we kind of see Selena feels like she's leaving Gotham, you know, because she gives up the alley town place that she bought to the strays. They kind of set up like new relationships with other characters, it seems like. I will say I did like the whole thing with the priest. I feel like some people might not like it because he was set out to kill her and he's always meant to kill his target. That's kind of what he was saying, right?
Yeah, but he
But
was like, "Oh, I've never killed an innocent person before."
yeah, and I like how he absolved her of her sins, like, maybe we'll cross paths in the future, but he says that she has to live with the blood of the innocents that
Yeah.
she of everybody comes in her life, and I'm like, so you could see it as that's worse than death.
Yeah, and, like, we never really see that, like,
Mhm.
we always hear, "Oh, Batman, the blood is on your hands, ha, ha,
Yeah.
ha," and they, like, all, like but the chase keeps going, and
Yeah.
it kinda never stops.
Mhm.
With this, I forgot his name, Valley, I know
Yeah.
he's a Valley, he basically says, "Hey, I'm gonna stop chasing you, but it's because you have to sit in this. You have to
Mhm.
know he died because of you.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can come chase me or whatever, but like that's not what this is about. This is about
Yeah.
you and what you've done, and because of you, this dude is no longer here." And
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, no, that was really good. I have to say, I'm waiting for the day to somebody to do this, and I'm gonna shit all over the book when it happens. But every time it's like Selena's like, "Yeah, we had a complicated relationship." I'm like, "Were they doing it? Are you gonna fucking tell me that they were doing it somewhere else when all this stuff?" Like, somebody's gonna do it eventually. Somebody is going to like fucking William Pfeiffer or whatever. My great Catwoman story, because that Ed Brubaker to Pfeiffer was great until fucking she had a baby that with somebody that wasn't Bruce, and I was like, what the fuck? And so like you just can't. Somebody's gonna do it eventually. Like they're gonna have Catwoman hook up with somebody else, and they're just gonna forget the whole Batman thing, and it's gonna be like, what the hell? But at the end of this, they have the cop kind of thinking of like what she could have done because he was like, what happened here? Like she played him everybody, obviously. It was a long
And
con.
here's the question. Okay, so she goes into this pol- precinct
Interrogation room.
interrogation
Typical.
room, but what was she after? Because other than really fucking up two lives, she
Mhm.
didn't do anything. There
She was
was
clearing
no.
her name because the magistrate had video of her.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Because it legit after I was after I was done
I'm
reading, I was
pouring
like,
water, by the way, if y'all hear that. My bad.
yeah. No, I was just after I was done reading, I was like, she just fucked up two lives, and that's basically it.
Yeah,
But like along with the story, it does make sense. She
yeah,
was basically removing herself from like any suspicion over
yeah.
everything that had gone down in Alleytown.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
something Batman would do too. But it's also she screwed over the cop that was a dirty cop. So,
Yeah.
you don't feel bad for that guy. But yeah, it was I thought it was okay. It wasn't I just didn't feel like it was as good as the last few issues. But I
True.
mean, that was an overarching big story, and this was kind of just like the farewell issue, which I'm sad to see Ram V go. I know we got a massive dump of books today, and I know the next Catwoman's already in that.
Yeah.
So no Batcat though. I noticed that. So we won't be getting a Batcat until the end of January, early February. So
Yeah. Because we
you
don't
know,
have, I think we don't have the last week of January. So it
yeah.
might either be there or
Which I think it's the
February.
holiday issue, right? That's
Hmm.
honoring Leon or
Yeah.
Leon. Is it Leon? Leon, right?
Leon. Yeah.
Yeah. So waiting for that, but yeah, so I'm excited to see where Catwoman's gonna go, but I hope it doesn't turn into like Joelle Jones type where
Yeah.
it's just kind of like
It
falls
looks
off.
great, but then it's just like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. But anyways, that was the last one. All right. Should we talk Batcat or should we talk Lonely City?
Uh let's do Batcat. Let's do
Okay.
Batcat and then
All
Lonely
right.
City.
Give me your thoughts on this because I read this 3 weeks ago. So I got to look
So
through it again.
this I for one, I think what Raphael had said is true. I think out of the 3,
Hmm.
this may have been tone-wise a better experience for Sharp as far as
Hmm.
his art goes. I I was okay with this issue. Like with the other 2 issues, I was so out of it with Liam Sharp's art. I don't think I was completely used to it yet. I think
Yeah.
now I'm like, okay, I'm used to it. But like what? Next issue is it Man's issue next
The
well,
last 3
other
man.
than the special.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the last 2 that are back to Man?
Last 3. He's
Oh,
coming back
so
for 10, 11, and 12 because Raphael said this was issue 10. This is issue 9.
okay, yeah. So
So,
so next issue, like the next numbered issue is
mhm.
gonna be Man's art. Like as soon as I get used to Liam Sharp's, so it's like, what the
Yeah.
fuck, you know?
I don't mind that, to be honest.
But
Okay, so what I want to talk about, I mean, we'll review the whole issue here, but the big thing here was that Phantasm was not a mom.
no, she wasn't.
So, and I did think it was weird when we read the last issue. Why would there be a separation of kids? I thought it was so weird. I was like, why would she have a brother, but that not be her child? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, from what we get at the end of this issue, which, this is the greatness of the Joker. Like, he's a fucked up, sadistic man, right? But he was all like, look at this person you're trying to help and you're trying to save. She's dressed as crazy as me. She kidnapped a child and raised it as her own. Like, how fucked up is that? And he's like trying to kill her. He was like, y'all are over here trying to think I'm the bad guy. But look at what this bitch is doing.
yeah,
Like, that's always the craziness about the Joker. And we've seen a lot of that in this run where he's trying to tell Selena, like, again, I always go back to that whole, like, well, if you save the kid and she turns out to be baby Hitler, like, should you have really saved her? It's like all these moral questions. And that's
yeah.
what we know Selena is going through. And so, yeah, I thought that was a big revelation. Thought that was pretty interesting. What did you think of the meme panels?
The meme panels.
So they did the Batman Robin meme in this book.
Did I completely
You could, yeah, go to the, I don't know what page it is, but it's towards the end when Selena is talking to Joker in the Santa suit. They do the
Oh,
Batman Robin meme.
when she's like, it wasn't a fucking request. Look at me
Yeah,
in the fucking eyes. Now,
yeah,
so this is where I'm like, I'm used to Liam Sharp's art now. He does
hmm,
not do great with small panels.
no, definitely not.
His art is kind of crap when it comes to
Love the
small
next
panels.
page though. Next page is amazing.
Yes, the
Yeah,
immediate next page is great, but if you go 2 pages after that and you see Joker at the very bottom, like
hmm,
talking next to the tree, and then you see his hand on the present, it's
yeah,
like, what is this? Like,
no detail at all.
none whatsoever. There's one moment where like Batman is yelling no, and he is standing up straight with his head forward and his arm out. He's like, no.
Yeah,
It looks horrible. Like, but the overall story, I will say, I enjoy this a little bit more than I have been as far
hmm,
as like the overall story because I don't think I was really getting it.
hmm.
Now,
I
I
mean,
do have
it's usually what happens with King's middle runs, right? You don't
yeah.
get it, and then you're just like, what? So
Now,
yeah,
I
yeah.
will say I do have one problem
Mm-hmm.
with this book. So Joker throws a fucking bomb in this house
Mm-hmm.
trying to kill this family. And it's essentially like, hey, I'm going to kill whoever I can, right?
Yeah.
Now, I would think Batman would do anything in his power to protect the family,
Yeah.
regardless of himself or Catwoman. But when you look at the panels immediately after the explosion, you see Catwoman facing Joker like she's about to fight him, and then you see everybody dead, like on the floor,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, Batman didn't save anybody. Like what?
Yeah, I think this is one of those instances, right? Because like,
And don't get me wrong, it's a nitpick, but
yeah, yeah, for sure.
like it's a detail that I feel like should be addressed.
Yeah, well, hold on, let me see. Let me going back to that. Is this at the point
It's
where
literally the last page. Like
yeah, no, I know where it's at. But up like if I'm reading this prior, because like before he kicks the present, he's holding Phantasm, like choking her out.
yeah.
So and that's why Batman can't move. He's like, I'll kill her, like if you move closer.
Oh, do
And
you
then
think that's Phantasm just like kind of like knocked out?
yeah, I don't think she's dead. I mean, I would hope not. I mean, we'll see. But I'm
Like
thinking this is
there was a
how
line in here that kind of made me question if he like killed her in his arms.
it's possible. I mean, it's been 3 weeks, so it's very foggy. But I'm just going to the present thing to just to let you know how I see it. So because in between him choking Phantasm and the kicking of the present, it goes. It's like a bunch of pages of past conversation, like in the past.
Yeah.
So I think the way I would see this play out is we know there's some distance between Batman, Joker, and Phantasm. Like the panel right next to Joker choking her out, there's like a good little gap between them. So I would assume that he's choking her out, and then they're having the conversation, and he's talking about the present. So where did he say it right here? He's like, "See, Catbat, I knew you'd be here. You're very clever, but it's not all that hard. You tracked the DNA of her boy to the missing persons reports, didn't you?" And that's where he talks about how he has the bomb. So I'm assuming he let go of her in this thing because he's right next to the Christmas tree, and then he just fucking kicks it. So there's still a distance between him and Batman. So you got to imagine, like, when we saw Batman stop what's her name from killing himself in the detective, he's like a foot or two away from her. So you can imagine he can dive and grab the gun, right?
True.
But
Yeah.
if you're kicking a box across a room, Batman's got to dive to the box. And if he knows it's a bomb, diving to the box would try to like get you killed. You know what I mean? Now he could have tried to dive by the parents, but if I'm not mistaken, they're like on the couch to the side, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just one of those situations where Batman's like, I'm fucked, you know?
Yeah.
So, because there are those situations. But I do agree with you. Yeah, they could have probably done something to see, like, you could have shown him trying to dive at the family to make it a little bit more heroic if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, going from there, we get a 3-page progression or a 3-panel progression of, yeah, like the explosion aftermath, Catwoman going after Joker. Then it goes to I'm assuming what was present day or whatever. Then it's the, Catwoman in the Joker. He's in Santa outfit. And then we have freaking Helena going after Selina. So it's kind of saying that Selina has now become the Joker in essence, which is
It's
pretty interesting.
uh what's the Dark Knight saying? Live
She's
long
lived
enough
long
to
enough to
see.
become the villain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, because I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, right? Because it doesn't seem like Helena and her mother have a good relationship. It seemed like she
No,
was more of
not
a
at all.
daddy's girl
Yeah.
than anything. So she's going to do what her father would have done. And she's going to, take her mother to jail. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen here because it was interesting. What happens in this story is Selena's like, I need to get out of Gotham because my daughter's going to come after me. You know what I mean? And so she goes to Penguin. And Penguin's like, why the fuck would I help you? And she's like, oh, for old times, blah, blah, blah. They have the, typical kind of conversation. And
After
I think
she
she
kicks
punches him in the face, right?
no, she
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
kicks the shit out of his nose.
Yeah, she kicks the shit out of him. Well, he's like, fine, fine, I'll help you. I got somebody coming to pick you up. And he ends up calling Helena.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I called her. And she's like,
No,
you
and he's
asshole.
like, "You think I'm such an idiot to think that I would still play one of your games? Like, I'm done
Yeah.
with your shit, man."
Yeah. And then she knocks the fuck out of him again because it's all crack. And I'm guessing he goes down. And then she just starts singing a little like lullaby or whatever. And yeah, it ends with Selena going against her daughter. So I think is it the proper word, juxtaposition? I don't
Yeah,
know if that's the right word,
yeah.
between Joker and Selina is so good. Because if you really wanted to get deep into it, right? Like there's all those people that are out there like, I think, Batman actually loves Joker because they're two opposites, blah blah.
Oh,
You
that's why
could
he's
see
so attracted to
to
Catwoman?
like, yeah, because maybe she is got a little bit of Joker in her, which I think that's a really hard argument to do because she's done way more good than
Yeah.
anything, you know. And yeah, I'm interested to see what's gonna happen. I would say if Phantasm actually died here, I'd be like, that's kind of lackluster.
Well, like, the
Um,
only reason why, and I reread that panel. So
mhm,
there's a moment where, like, right before he throws the present, he says, "Did you hear me? Your phantasm, dear. I said that thing you did. Oh no, he's not waiting anymore, is he? He's got you now, sweetie. You poor dead thing, right? And now I've lost my hostage,
mhm,
which would be yet another tragedy if not for the bomb.
yeah,
So, because you can't show progression in one panel other
yeah,
than like showing movement, which I don't think Liam Sharp is very good at doing anyway, so they didn't do it
mhm,
here in this panel. It could either mean that Batman just took Phantasm,
yeah.
or that Joker has now killed Phantasm and it's like, oh, I lost my hostage, but I still got the bomb.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be yeah, they definitely didn't show that, so that's on Liam Sharp's part. Um, and again, it's which is why I would have loved to seen Clayman do this because his progression in his panels between past, future, and everything look amazing.
Yeah.
So like it would have been nice to see what he would have done. But yeah, I think that would be kind of I mean, it goes back to like show don't tell, right? So we would have
Yep.
that argument there. But there have been plenty of times where Joker's thought he's killed somebody and they haven't died. So,
That's true. Yeah.
I would go with that because he thought he killed Selena in the wedding, right? Like they fucking both like almost fatally shot or stabbed each other and they
Yeah.
were dying out and Batman saved both of them, I guess. Um but yeah, so I mean I guess we won't find out until February. So
Fuck.
you know, which is crazy. But this is that part of Tom King's run where it's usually kind of chill, but we're going into the last three issues, and those are usually the banger issues. And when you look back on the whole series, you're just like, "Fuck, this was dope." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see where this is gonna go. When I read the whole Phantasm thing, I was like, "Okay, this is great." Because for the longest time, you thought that Phantasm was just like a good character, like she's mad that she lost her son. Who wouldn't be pissed? You know what I mean? But then you find out that she's a fucking kidnapper. Like,
Yeah.
so she's terrible. And so I'm like, thank you for not making her again some type of anti-hero trying to go out and do right after she was wronged. You know what I mean? So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I'm interested to see where this is gonna go. But let's move on to the final issue that we have this week, which is Catwoman Lonely City number 2. What were your thoughts on this?
I need this person to be on the main Catwoman run.
Yeah. Yeah. This was great.
And if not as a writer, then as an artist.
Yeah.
Because this, like, you would think, okay, there's a really, really good issue 1. It's got to go down on issue 2. Now, I will say this probably isn't as great as issue 1,
Hmm.
but it's definitely not a loss. Like, this is still a great issue.
Yeah.
And, like, there is a reason for everything that happens in this book. And I think that's what I enjoy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, they this book did something that I love, and it showed the little things of like the training and stuff like that. Like a lot of people would be like, and they trained for 6 months, but
Yeah.
it's like, no, they showed different little things. They showed her failing. They showed Croc not wanting to he's like, I just want to eat some fries or something like that. And she's like,
Yeah.
diet Croc and stuff like that. And then it does just like little character building things that I really loved.
Like the entire scene with Edward Nigma with the
Yeah.
Riddler,
Mm-hmm.
that entire sequence from the start of it when they didn't even know they were next to each other to them at dinner Loved the entire thing.
Yeah. It was like the conversation itself was just fucking phenomenal because at first I didn't know who that was. I was like, who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah,
And
he's kind of being like a dick at this like hotel or whatever, and then all of a
yeah.
sudden she's like, "Oh, I'll see you later," and he's like, "Okay." And you're like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah, I was all like, I was all like, she's just gonna randomly hook up with this guy out of nowhere. What the fuck? I was like, okay, and then it turns out that it's Nigma, and she's like, how you been, Ed? And they have this crazy cool conversation of like, remember that time Bane did this? Or like, oh, remember I was so and so was so mad. And I love how she was like, you boys were always trying to best Bruce and like trying to best the Batman, and you never could. Like,
Yeah,
and then he was like,
no,
yeah.
like she was like, "Oh, whatever happened to like the one suit and like the hat?" He's like, "I was doing a lot of crack then," and I was like, "Oh
Mhm.
fuck."
Yeah, yeah. Which is, is something you just assume these characters do, right?
Yeah.
Like, again, I, for the longest time, when I read Joker, like when I read a Joker story, it never crossed my mind that Joker was like somebody who sexually assaulted or raped people. Like, I never thought about it. Then I read not Ed Brubaker's, but I read Azzarello's and Bermeju's Joker, where he straight up does that to one of his henchmen's girls. And I was like, oh fuck, he's even worse than I thought he could be. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like when they throw in little things like this of like, oh yeah, I was doing a lot of crack. You're like, oh yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that these people are doing crazy drugs.
Dude, and then immediately after that scene with Nigma, they show the flashback with her
Hmm.
original costume,
Yeah.
uh, with the one piece and the belt and the small little domino mask.
Hmm.
So good.
Yeah. And it's badass because Tom King did this. I don't want to say Tom King was the first one to do it, but he's made it a lot more popularized to show that these old school uniforms were stuff they actually used and not just golden age shit. It was like first prototype suits and all this kind of stuff
Oh
when they
no,
first got on.
I love the joke about that though.
Hmm.
The
Oh yeah.
joke is when they go into like that back room in that store and
Hmm.
like this kid is about to like start working with her and he's all like, "Oh, I had a poster of you like back in the day." And
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh yeah? Which one?" He's like, "Oh, the one with the purple suit, you
Yeah.
know?"
Or it's like he says the one with the moon and the cat outfit, and she's all like, "Ah." She was like,
Yeah,
"It's
like
okay."
it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. And then she gets the question again later from a female, which is Ed's daughter. And
Yeah.
he's like, I had a poster of you. And she's all like, which one? She's like, oh, the one with the goggles and stuff, which is not as like sexy or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, good girl. And she kind of looks over at the guy and he's like, what? He's like, it's those little details that are awesome. And so again, yeah, so we meet this new character, or like the grandson, right, or of this other character, where she owns essentially she makes the outfits for villains and heroes, right? And
Yeah.
she runs like a sneaker shop, which I thought was a really good chance, or like a really good like that's pretty cool. Like, of course she runs a sneaker shop, and she has Bat Force ones, 89 Bat Force
Yeah.
ones, which I thought was cool. So like there's all this stuff. She's talking about like this is like who's the girl that says no capes in Incredibles? It's this
Oh,
lady.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
It's this version because she's all like, "Oh no, these won't work. These boots, you can't use these anymore." So she makes a whole new modern day Catwoman outfit that'll help her in her older age. Like it has knee braces and stuff like that. So like the shoes absorb shock, so she's not putting so much pressure on her knees. Like really cool stuff. And like it's just like, it's essentially a Catwoman outfit with a hoodie. Is essentially what it is,
Yeah.
It's like if she was casual, like I'm casually going out, I'm gonna throw on this hoodie. Like it's white girl Starbucks Catwoman is how I want to say. So, but yeah, so we have this, and essentially dude, the one thing that they've done really well in this story is I want to know what's in the fucking Batcave because their
Yes.
whole mission is to get into the Batcave, to do something in the Batcave. Barbara doesn't even know what's in the Batcave because she came across this Morpheus or whatever it's called thing. And Selena's like, what is it? She was like, I don't know. She was like, I only have my memories, but Bruce wouldn't even talk to me about this project. So I'm so intrigued on what this is. Now, this could be really bad or really good
Yeah.
because you have my hopes up that this is something cool and awesome. But if
And
it's not,
they've only teased the big event. Like
yeah,
what happened to Bruce.
yeah,
Like they teased it in the first issue, they barely teased it in the beginning of this issue. So
yeah,
like you're not going to get it until the final issue. And
yeah,
you texted me this freaking earlier today. You're like, "Dude, we're not going to get this story until March."
yeah. So at the end of this book, it showed I guess, the cover for the next book, and it said March 2022. So I was like, fuck. So I don't know if it's going to be like a mega issue where they need more than 50 pages,
Yeah.
like 60 something, 70 maybe, which I wouldn't mind because this story, just tell the story you want to tell. I don't care about the page count.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like it's such good storytelling.
Like the introduction to the new characters and even old characters
Hmm.
is so organic.
Yeah.
I genuinely love like the uh Edward's daughter, like
Hmm.
just like helping them on these missions or whatever. She
Yeah.
fucking alley oops Selena when they are at the Ace
Yeah.
Chemicals. And
Hmm.
like even Selena's like, why am I the weakest link here? Like
Yeah. I
what the
love
fuck
that.
is going on?
I love that.
And that's when, like, later on, they're like, "Oh, we need somebody else on our team." They go
Yeah.
freaking see freaking Poison Ivy.
Hmm.
They meet Poison Ivy, and then that's when I think her name. What is her name? Emmy or
Did you get the joke that they made? The green bean joke?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, like, cause it's a plumpy Ivy.
hmm
She's got a little weight to her, but apparently she's like a mascot for like I think it's the Jolly Green Giant, right? Like that's what they're
yes,
referencing.
yes,
So they just changed her up and she's like, "Oh, she's a green bean lady? Like what the hell?" And she lives in Brazil now, and it was interesting when Catwoman was like, "I've never seen you this happy before." So,
yeah,
like, she was like, "Yeah," she was like, "I just had nothing in Gotham, especially after what happened to Harley."
yeah.
So, like, did Harley die in this accident too? Like, I'm very curious about that because, it shows that there was a relationship there. Obviously, they're all older, but she's working in Africa or like in Brazil to try to still save the world, and she
Yeah,
stole this stuff from Ace Chemicals or whatever to like find out how to neutralize it so it doesn't ruin the Earth's crops or whatever in 10 years or whatever.
yeah,
So I thought that was pretty cool. She's still doing eco-terrorist type things but just in a smarter way, but she says that she owes it to Selena to go to Gotham. So she's gonna join the team, and I like that there's just like this ragtag group of people, and that's what Selena and Ivy are talking about. She's like, you have such a weird group of like people here, like helping you to try to do this, and so I'm interested to see where that's gonna go. Did you think it was gonna be Ivy? I thought it was gonna be Bane because they
I
made a
thought it was
joke
gonna
about
be.
Bane too.
I thought it was gonna be Bane, just
Yeah.
because of that joke.
Hmm.
And you think South America, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
Bane's got to be
Hmm.
there. Bringing in Poison Ivy is very interesting. I
Yeah.
like to see like what she does to exactly help the mission go about.
Hmm.
Uh, but like I like the interaction with Eddie, Edward's daughter, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, I got an awkward question. Can you train me? You know,
Yeah.
like can like I like what you do." And she's like, I don't know. She's like, look, just like gymnastics is not doing great for me. Like I want to do
Hmm.
more, and I know that I can. I just don't have the right teacher. And she's
Yeah.
like, I'll think about it. She's like, really? She's like, that's not a yes. So
Yeah.
think about it. Totally a mom type of answer.
For
But
sure.
I like how organic everything is. And honestly, it was a little bit of a sidestep, but I liked the debate between Two Face and Barbara, because
Yeah.
even Barbara is like in the very beginning, she's like, "I'm running for mayor. Like I can't be doing these things for you. Like
Yeah.
there needs to be some sort of like I need to have blinders basically
Mhm.
for like the shit that you do." And in the debate, although like I don't think it was necessarily like the greatest line. I think it's a very cheesy line,
Mhm.
but like the way Barbara beats Two Face or Harvey Dent
Yeah.
in this debate, he's like, "Oh, well, this needs to happen." because we need to protect ourselves. And then she's
Mhm.
like, well, what does he say? He says, they failed us. We have to grow up. We have to save ourselves. And she says, but that's another side of that argument, Mr. Mayor. Who will save us from ourselves? And
Yeah.
it's like it's a really cheesy line. It doesn't make sense, but I love how it immediately turns the crowd around.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what the people want to hear.
Yeah.
And it's just small subtleties like that. If you're going to make something political, like
Mhm.
play around with it, you know?
For sure.
And that's why, like, at the very end, Harvey's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going back to my old ways. And he punches the glass, grabs his freaking coin. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like,
Yeah.
that's no longer Harvey Dent. This is Two
Yeah.
Face.
Yeah, no, I love that she called him Two-Face by accident, which is
Yeah.
technically she did it on purpose. She was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, Two-Face, I mean Harvey Dent." Like, I was like, "Yeah," because he was bringing up her being Batgirl. Like, the people know that she was Batgirl,
Yeah.
and so it's a very interesting thing. And we talked about this in the last issue that like we love the way they're using the news to tell part of the story, right? Like that's always a nice little thing that they do here, and yeah, this what this writer and this like creator does so well is they show everything and every conversation does seem organic like you mentioned, whereas somebody with Tynan, when he has Batman talking to people and stuff, it doesn't feel organic. It feels like he's trying to tell like extra shit in the story he didn't get to mention before, or like stuff he wants you to know about but he's not going to be able to show you. Where this
Yeah.
creator, since they are also drawing the book too, they're like, no, I can show everything and just put the dialogue later if I want to. And so everything seems so great. But I'm pretty sure, I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but if you are drawing and writing, you probably fucking put this all out to a T. Like everything's probably methodically thought out before you start
Yeah.
drawing this shit, right? So, yeah, I don't know. This is probably going to be my most anticipated hardcover that I want.
Oh, I want this hardcover
Yeah.
as well.
Like, oh, by the way, I think after Batcat's done, I'm going to stop buying comic books.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I noticed that the comic shop one has not been doing my fucking box right. Like it's just been bad every week. And they
Yeah.
gave me Batman, they gave me Robin Batman number 2, but not number 1. Like I don't remember buying number 1. I'm like, why the fuck did y'all put 2 in my box? So I just put it on the shelf again. And like I've been getting Supergirl, but I don't think I got the Human Targets. And I'm all like, well, if I missed the first 2 issues of Human Target, fuck buying the rest of them. Like,
Yeah.
I'll just wait for the hardcover. But at this point now, I'm just like, I'm just piling King books, and I'm just like, yeah, they could maybe be worth something in the future. But at this point, I'm just like, I'll just buy the hardcover. Like,
Yeah. And honestly,
So
as long as you look at the and we get them sometimes,
yeah,
but I'll let you know. The solicitations or the DC Connects will tell
hmm
you when the hardcovers go on sale.
yeah,
So like as
because they've
long
been
as you're
coming out pretty fast.
yeah. Like
Like Rorschach
as
comes
soon
out
as
pretty soon.
yeah, as soon as the issue, like the final issue comes out, you can
Yeah.
expect the hardcover within 2 months.
Yeah. Still waiting for the Tom King Deluxe DC for the Bane City of Bane. Where the fuck
Yep.
is that? It's the last one I need in my collection. I don't know. I doubt they're gonna wait for Batcat. I guarantee you Batcat's hardcover comes out before that. Deluxe.
Oh, I think
I don't
so.
know why. Yeah, I don't know why. But anyways, Lonely City, fucking amazing. Cannot wait for this to be a hardcover so I can put it on my shelf with the rest of my collection because it's one of the best fucking Batman stories in my opinion going on right now. So, anyways, Clay, I'm assuming you don't have anything going on this week?
I do not, because of course I'm taking a hiatus from all other podcasting. I am just, resting. Now, if you have seen Spider-Man No Way Home, I did do a review of that on the Marvel Alliance podcast. Go check that out. Really, really fun. It's a hefty 3.5 hours of
Oof.
podcasting that we did. So an hour more than the actual movie. So put it on while you're working, doing something. Go check it out. It was a lot of fun. But other than that, nope, got nothing.
Noise. I have all of my YouTubey stuff. Go subscribe over there, ladies and gentlemen. I've decided to return my reaction channel back to a pure reaction channel just because I want to focus on the gaming channel going forward. Doing reactions is so much easier when I don't have to think about it and be crazy on camera with some of the other content I was doing or scripting it out. So go subscribe to my reaction channel. If you have any suggestions of things you want me to react to, you can leave those in Discord or in the comments of some of those videos over there. Also, go subscribe to the gaming channel because in 2022, I'm going to be hopefully having a live stream schedule and also putting out maybe 5 videos a week there. So if you guys want content, go hit that subscribe button. But that is going to be it for this issue, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, next week's issue is going to be next week's episode is going to be our top 10 Batman comics of 2021. So definitely go check that out. If you guys are on the YouTube channel, leave us your questions. Oh, I guess we won't be doing that for the next one. But any questions we see over the next 2 episodes, if they're good, all that jazz, we'll pick out the best ones and we'll answer them on the first episode of 2022. So, yeah, that is going to be it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.